It was supposed to be just another routine night over America's heartland. A cargo plane, heavy with freight and responsibility, cut through the dark Kentucky sky, unnoticed by most, trusted by millions. Then, in a matter of moments, everything changed. No warning sirens, no second chances, just silence followed by impact. Tonight, we're not just talking about a plane crash. We're talking about the fragile line between routine and tragedy, about the people behind the cargo, and about how one quiet night in Kentucky became a moment the nation couldn't ignore. What caused this aircraft to fall from the sky? What went wrong in those final seconds? And what does this tragedy reveal about the risks we rarely think about but depend on every single day? Stay with us, because the story behind Kentucky cargo plane crash is more powerful, more human, and more important than the headlines ever told. What we know so far is only the surface of a much deeper story. Because when a cargo plane crashes, the headlines focus on metal, fire, and wreckage. But behind every aircraft is a chain of human decisions, made hours, minutes, even seconds before impact. That Kentucky cargo plane wasn't just carrying freight. It was carrying trust. Trust placed by businesses waiting for deliveries. Trust placed by families who depend on the aviation industry every day. And most importantly, trust placed by the crew, professionals trained to believe that the systems around them will work when it matters most. As investigators arrived at the crash site, they weren't just looking at debris scattered across the Kentucky landscape. They were searching for answers that could prevent the next tragedy. Every twisted piece of metal told a story. Every instrument, reading raised another question. Was it mechanical failure? Weather conditions? Human error? Or a silent problem no one saw coming? Cargo flights operate differently than passenger flights. They often fly at night, under tighter schedules, with fewer eyes watching. While most Americans sleep, these aircraft keep the economy moving, delivering medical supplies, consumer goods, and critical materials that make modern life possible. And yet, how often do we think about the people flying those planes? The crew aboard that aircraft were not anonymous names on a report. They were individuals with experience, training, and families waiting for them to come home. Their final moments are now part of a national investigation, but also part of a national conversation about safety, oversight, and accountability. The National Transportation Safety Board stepped in, launching a full-scale investigation. Flight data recorders, cockpit voice recordings, maintenance logs. Everything is being examined frame by frame, second by second, because in aviation, details matter. A single overlooked warning light, a minor maintenance delay, a decision made under pressure. Any one of these can change history. Kentucky, a state known for its quiet landscapes and close-knit communities, suddenly found itself at the center of a tragedy that reached far beyond its borders. Local first responders were among the first on the scene, facing flames, wreckage, and the emotional weight of knowing lives were lost. For them, this wasn't just another emergency call. It was a reminder of how quickly normal life can turn into crisis. As news spread across the country, Americans began asking the same questions. Could this have been prevented? Are cargo flights as safe as we assume? And what lessons must be learned before another aircraft falls from the sky? History has shown us that many aviation safety improvements are written in the aftermath of tragedy. Every regulation, every checklist, every training update exists because something once went wrong. This crash is no different. Experts are now analyzing whether current safety standards are enough or whether gaps in oversight allowed risk to grow unnoticed. The cargo aviation industry is massive, yet often invisible to the public. But incidents like this force that hidden world into the spotlight, and that spotlight matters. Because aviation safety is not a regional issue. It's a national one. What happened in Kentucky could happen anywhere, over any town, any highway, any community. That reality is unsettling, but it's also why these investigations are so critical. Families affected by this crash are now left with questions that may never fully be answered. Grief does not follow a timeline, and closure is never guaranteed. But truth, transparency, and accountability can offer something just as important: change. As investigators continue their work, one thing is clear. This story is far from over. New findings will emerge. Hard truths may surface. And decisions made in the coming months could shape the future of cargo aviation in the United States. This is not just about a plane that crashed. It's about how we protect the people who keep our country moving, often unseen, often unrecognized, but absolutely essential. So as we continue the story, stay with us. Because understanding what happened in Kentucky isn't just about looking back. It's about ensuring that the skies over America remain safe for everyone who depends on them. And the next chapter may change more than you think. Kentucky cargo plane crash. What really happened that night? It was supposed to be routine. Just another cargo flight, crossing the American night sky. No passengers. No applause on landing. No headlines waiting. But in the early hours over Kentucky, something went terribly wrong. In seconds, a cargo plane vanished in the sky, and with it, the sense of normalcy we often take for granted. This wasn't just a crash. It was a wake-up call. Because while most of America was asleep, this aircraft was doing what thousands of cargo flights do every single night, keeping the country running. And then, silence. No distress call that the public would hear. No time to react. Just impact. When emergency crews arrived, the scene told a story of sudden catastrophe. Wreckage scattered across the landscape. Fire, smoke, and so many questions that would soon echo far beyond Kentucky. What caused this plane to fall from the sky? Why did a routine operation turn into a deadly tragedy? And could this happen again? Cargo aviation is one of the most invisible pillars of American life. We rarely think about it, yet we depend on it every day. Medicine, food, online orders, emergency supplies. These flights don't carry passengers, but they carry responsibility. And the people flying them carry enormous pressure. Night cargo flights are especially demanding. Long hours, tight schedules, limited visibility, fatigue, weather, mechanical stress. Every decision matters. And when something fails, there's no crowd watching until something goes wrong. Investigators quickly stepped in, knowing that every detail mattered. The wreckage wasn't just debris, it was evidence. Each broken component, each data point, each recorded second held potential answers. Was it mechanical malfunction? A weather-related issue? A chain reaction of small problems that became impossible to stop? Aviation disasters are rarely caused by a single mistake. More often, they are the result of multiple factors lining up at the worst possible moment. That's what makes them so haunting. Because it means tragedy doesn't announce itself, it builds quietly. As news of the crash spread, Americans across the country began paying attention. Not just because a plane went down, but because it raised a larger concern. If this can happen on a routine cargo flight, what else are we overlooking? Cargo pilots don't get the same public recognition as commercial passenger pilots, but their work is just as critical and sometimes more dangerous. They fly when others won't, through storms at night, under intense operational demands. They trust their aircraft. They trust maintenance systems. They trust regulations meant to protect them. And when that trust breaks, the consequences are irreversible. The investigation into the Kentucky cargo plane crash is about more than finding fault. It's about preventing the next loss. Every aviation rule written today exists because of yesterday's tragedy. And history shows us something important. Many of the safety standards we rely on were born from moments like this. This crash forces hard questions about oversight, fatigue, aircraft maintenance, and whether current systems are enough or merely adequate until something goes wrong. For the local community, the crash wasn't abstract. It was personal. First responders saw the aftermath up close. Residents heard the impact. A quiet Kentucky night became unforgettable. And for families connected to the crew, life changed forever. Behind every aviation headline are people who expected a normal day, a normal shift, a normal return home. That's what makes this story resonate, because it reminds us how fragile routine really is. As investigators continue analyzing flight data, voice recordings, and maintenance history, the nation waits. Not just for answers, but for reassurance. Reassurance that lessons will be learned, that changes will be made, that safety will be strengthened, not ignored. This isn't about fear. It's about awareness. What happened in Kentucky matters because it could happen anywhere, over any town, any highway, any community. That reality is uncomfortable, but necessary to confront. The skies over America are busy, complex, and essential. Every safe landing is a result of countless decisions made correctly. Every crash reminds us how much depends on getting it right. So as this investigation unfolds, remember this. This story is not finished. What we learned from the Kentucky cargo plane crash could shape aviation safety for years to come. It could influence regulations, training, and how the industry protects the people who keep our country moving while we sleep. Stay with us as we continue to follow this story. Because understanding what happened isn't just about the past, it's about protecting the future. And the next detail, revealed, may change everything. Every crash leaves questions. Every investigation leaves lessons. The real tragedy is when those lessons are ignored. What happened in Kentucky should never be forgotten because the next flight depends on it.